Welcome to the Becoming a Pilot podcast, where we share first-hand experiences, practical advice, and insights from pilots at every stage of their journey. I'm your host, Dave Angus, and whether you're just starting out or working towards your next rating, we're here to help you navigate the path to becoming a pilot. So buckle up, stay tuned, and let's talk all things aviation.
This podcast is brought to you by Genesis Flight College, Canada's premier flight center. With an advanced fleet of Diamond aircraft and experienced instructors, Genesis Flight College provides top-tier training in the heart of southern Georgian Bay. Ready to start your journey to becoming a pilot? Inquire today.
Welcome back to the Becoming a Pilot podcast. My name is Dave, and I'm back with Tyler. We're both instructors here at Genesis Flight College. Today we're talking about human factors and what kind of makes a good pilot, and maybe some personality things that might help you, but also some ways that you can develop yourself to become a good pilot. Some good practices, one would say, right? So kind of what would you say overall would be a good mindset to come into flying?
Overall, just knowing what you're comfortable with in terms of minimums, but somebody that's new to flying, they're really relying on their instructor. So, but we start to early on in flying, we introduce the I'm Safe checklist. Right. So we can talk a bit about that if you want.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but like kind of overall, like, coming in really kind of big picture, surface level, like, coming in with some sort of, so we use I'm safe. So some way to say that, is it a good day for you to be in the plane, or is it a good day for you to maybe be at home or be on the ground, right? Some sort of decision-making model when it comes to problems that happen in the air.
Yeah.
Maybe
situational awareness.
Yeah, exactly. So you were even saying, a sterile cockpit type thing, like having different practices in place. That's what's going to make you a better and safer pilot, right? Having those things. We say with flying, like everything always has a checklist. So why not carry that into everything, right? Whether that be planning to go up in the air, or when something happens in the air as well. So you brought up the I'm Safe checklist. So for anyone that doesn't know what that is, what is an I'm Safe checklist?
Yeah. So first thing is I, which is illness. And then you have the M, medical. So that's any medication. And then you have stress. So that definitely affects your decision-making capabilities. And then you have A, which is alcohol. So you don't want to consume alcohol 12 hours before flying. And then you have fatigue, and then energy. So eating, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So if all these things are considered, then it makes you much safer in the plane. So any one of those things can hinder somebody's ability to properly assess a situation and make safe decision making, right?
So you're saying with the I'm Safe checklist, so I've gone through that. Maybe I had a bad night's sleep the night before. I'm kind of groggy coming in. I've actually just had 2 Red Bulls on the way in because I'm exhausted. That's just one of the things. The rest of them are good. Would that mean I don't fly that day? Is that kind of the idea of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a person-to-person basis, but I would say that you have to figure out how you handle situations under that type of circumstance. If you're used to that kind of thing, then maybe you operate fine with this crushing 2 Red Bulls and carrying on. But I would say for most pilots, especially starting out, that it's not an ideal scenario for you, especially if it's a solo flight too, right?
And even just as a student, like you have to cognitively be there to take in the information, whether it be in the airplane, taking in the situational awareness information, or actually the stuff that you're learning, what you or I are teaching in the classroom. We need the students to be ready to learn, right?
Yeah.
All those different things, if you're not feeling well, I'll say for me personally, I've always had issues with regulating the pressure. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
On a day like today where I feel 100%, I'm good, would be no problem. But if my allergies are bad, like seasonal allergies, or if I have a little head cold, I know that my ears are going to clog up and I'm not going to be able to hear straight for 48 hours. So it's better for me to just stay on the ground, maybe hop in the simulator. Even though I feel fine and I can perform my job fine, if I have the option to not go and put my head through that, it's better, right?
Definitely.
So a little bit individual, based on what you're doing, right? Some people will talk about stress and stuff, right? Like there's good stress and bad stress. People always look at stress as bad, right?
Yeah.
But Some stress really helps you focus and hone in, and but let's say the stress of losing an engine, that might not be healthy stress that you want, right?
Right.
But some stress and pressure is good, and that's kind of what attracts us to this job, because that leads us to our next thing, which is problem solving, right? So when we talk about problem solving, whether that be in the airplane or maybe it's getting ready for a test that's stressing us out, right? What are some methods that you use to now problem solve to try to overcome that? We were talking a little bit of a FOR-DEC.
Yeah.
Right?
So we could think of the model that our partnership Flair Airlines adopts is the FOR-DEC model. So so we want to assess the facts and then figure out what options we have available to us, and then what are the risks associated with the risk and benefits of those
of that
options.
decision, right?
Yeah, and then we want to make the decision,
Right.
And then following that, we want to execute. We want to carry out the decision, and then we want to review check and review our decision that we made.
Yeah, and that can apply to really anything, right? We want to come up, like if we, let's say we're doing a diversion, there's a good practical application of it, right? Now in the flight test, they're going to tell you where you're going, so that's kind of out the window. But in the real world, if we're coming into Collingwood, let's say, and it's closed down for some reason, we have to divert somewhere. Okay, well, where can we divert? Where is it safe to divert to? What are our options here? What are the risks of going to each airport? Maybe it's safe to land at all of them, but maybe our maintenance is only at one of them or two of them, right? Maybe we have an approved maintenance person there, right? So going through all those different things, and really it's just a big benefit to risk, right? What's the benefit? What's the risk? And what's the best option? And really at the end of the day, as pilots, that's what we're paid to do, right? Make those decisions, problem solve, and hopefully make the best decision. But that's why we check. Right. So if we check and we realize that, oh, you know what, we thought going to Edenvale or whatever would be the best, but they have no fuel and we're going to need more fuel to take off. Right. Okay, maybe we got to go somewhere else. We got to be able to change it up. Right. So what are some other things that when it comes to decision making and problem solving where students could apply, maybe not necessarily FOR-DEC, but anything else like in studying or what?
With I don't know. I think overall the avoiding the get there-itis is a good one to mention. So you're on a cross country and maybe the weather changed a little bit throughout the day if it's a long cross country. Perhaps at your destination or back at Collingwood. So you just want to avoid the get there-itis. So trying to get to your destination without considering all the factors, right? Maybe you have some family dinner to go to that night, and that's kind of a personal bias. So that would steer you towards continuing the flight as opposed to making the safer option.
Right.
So that would be one for like in flight that I would mention.
Yeah. On that, so I can't remember who told me this one day, but it was a great thing that really stuck with me, and probably one of my old instructors. But they said the best thing to do is to always prove why you shouldn't go in the air as opposed to why you should go in the air, right? Yeah. If you're sitting there going, oh, well, the weather's good. It looks like, I think it's going to clean up later. Yeah. You're just finding reasons to go where it should be more reasons of why not to go. I've never flown in a 30 knot crosswind, or, I've never flown in the rain before, so probably shouldn't go.
Right.
It looks like there's a low pressure system coming in that on my way back, I'm probably not going to be able to get in back into Collingwood. So this is giving us reasons why not to fly. And that's a better mindset to have. And going back to what Transport Canada always says, it's always better to be on the ground wishing you were in the air than being in the air wishing you were on the ground, right?
I was just going to say that,
Yeah. So it all kind of ties that in together, all part of that decision making as to, why we should fly or why we shouldn't fly. We were talking a little bit earlier about the 3-strike method, right? Yeah. So Mike Patey did a presentation on this. Some airlines have their own rendition on it, but essentially it's what I use to decide whether or not I'm going to go fly, whether that be with a student, whether that be for pleasure, whatever. And that's just like anything's a strike. And if you hit 3 strikes, you're out, you're not flying, right? So that could be, there's a snag on the airplane. Even though it's been addressed, and maybe it's been pushed off for 10 hours. Maybe you've got an oil change that's been pushed off for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe it's super windy. Maybe it's nighttime. So anything's a strike. And if you hit 3 strikes, then you're out. You're not going flying, right? So just little ways to now automate the process, essentially. We talked about automating, how it decreases our workload in the airplane. Well, let's automate it on the ground too, right? So we can automate it by saying, hey, if I hit these 3, it doesn't matter. Even if I really want to go up, we're not going to do it. We're not going to let any external pressures force us to go fly. We're just going to go up or we're going to scrub the flight.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Wait till the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other human factors that you find there?
Well, I think something worth mentioning is to learn from previous people's mistakes. Any disaster in aviation, it's often said that a lot of the rules are written in blood. So I would say that a lot of YouTube channels are really good. Pilot Mentor and Pilot Debrief
great ones,
do a very, very good job at discussing aviation disasters, as well as Mayday. So those are really good to reinforce safe flying and try to learn from other people's mistakes so you don't make the same mistake yourself.
Yeah, super, super important, right? Because it's as tough as sometimes it is to watch them, and sometimes on YouTube you get into a place where it's just a whole bunch of finger pointing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And things like that. But it's to learn from, we all make mistakes. Luckily, the vast majority, 99.9% of our mistakes go without any consequence whatsoever. But it's always good to look back when those tragedies happen and learn from it. And the people affected by that would want nothing more than you to learn from it as well. And sometimes there's nothing that they could have done, but sometimes there is little things. And it could be as much as, hey, that 3-strike rule.
Yep.
Oh, this plane's got some serious maintenance issues, and it's been grounded 6 times in the last year because of maintenance issues. It's an older airplane, right? Maybe that's a strike, right? So sometimes we have that complex of, oh, it won't happen to me, right? I'm good. It's not going to happen to me. Because it's so rare, really. We hear about it so much in the news and everything nowadays, but that's just because of access to information,
right?
But it's so rare for any of this to happen. So it's easy.
Right.
It's easy to look past it and be like, it's not going to happen in my brand new DA40 or my 42, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it could always
It
happen.
definitely can, for sure. Yeah.
I always say, like, I'll bring up my my story that I had with a stuck throttle, right? So I learned a lot from that. I was a pretty low time pilot at the time, and flying around recreationally. Came into land while I was coming in on descent and realized my throttle was stuck at cruise power setting, right? So it was 22 inches of manifold pressure, and I was about 2,300 RPM. And
how fast were you going?
At cruise or coming down?
At cruise.
At cruise is pretty much like the Diamonds, like, so it's in miles per hour, so it was about 140 miles an hour. And then the descent wasn't too much more, slightly more, but just did a slow, gradual descent in, got into the circuit, came in on final. I said, okay, well, my decision's going to be to just pull the mixture, right? I'll just kill the engine and glide it in. It's a P180. I've done these before, right? But then as soon as I did that, I learned that it's like hitting a brick wall when you have no thrust and not a feathered prop. At that point in my flying, I just didn't really even think of, okay, I need to pull the mixture and then feather the prop right away. So it was a windmilling prop. So
I see.
So initially what I did, because I was like, I'm not going to make the runway, I put more mixture in, went around, came back around. And then on final, a little bit closer, like a short final, I just pulled the mixture and then glided down the runway. It took up most of the runway, but it all worked out. But it was, again, going back to that FOR-DEC decision making was like, and I didn't even know that term at the time, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, make a decision, and then constantly be okay with not following through with it and changing it up, right? It's kind of like what we say with like landings, right? Every landing is a go around with the option to land, right? So this forced approach, what was the option to land, but I knew that if I put my mixture back in, it would spark the engine, hopefully, and then I could go around, right?
Yeah.
And so that all worked out. Everything was fine. But what a different feeling, right?
Definitely.
Actually turning an engine off.
Yeah.
Weird.
real
weird and
real life scenario there.
Does not feel like pulling the power back to idle.
When we practice. Yeah.
But maybe, maybe if I went down and thought about it and actually feathered the prop, maybe that would have felt more like it. I don't know. I don't know.
That's one of the things that I do think is beneficial to the cadets, because we do a lot of these abnormal scenarios in our ground briefs. We can't really simulate them all the time in the plane, but we talk about things like stuck throttle or, various other things.
Right.
So the students have some experience at least thinking about these scenarios before they might occur to them in real life, right? So that's beneficial. One other thing I was going to add was the idea of a sterile cockpit and CRM, crew resource management, because a lot of the cadets, they fly mutual flights, right? So keeping a sterile cockpit in critical phases of flight is a good mindset to have. So any takeoffs, landings, those phases of flight should be strictly business and checklists and paying attention to the aircraft and the instruments and stuff.
Right. So you kind of finished off there, but I was going to say, what is a sterile cockpit? But you kind of answered it there, right? It's just only flight critical conversations, really.
Exactly.
Now, we know in the airlines, that's normally 10,000 feet, right? They say below 10,000 feet is sterile cockpit. Definitely. But I don't know about you, but the last time I haven't been over 10,000 feet in one of these planes.
Just the sim, that's it.
So when would you say that somebody should really put that into action, a sterile cockpit?
Yeah, definitely near the airport environment.
Right.
Sure. And kind of throughout the whole flight, really, because you're in the practice area, you're doing air work, you're around other aircraft from Genesis and other aircraft in general. So really you should have that mindset through the whole flight. There's really no phase of that flight, if you're practicing air work or such, that you should be kind of not focused on that, because there's always people making calls. So you need to be mindful of that and kind of creating a mental picture of where everyone is. I would say maybe the only time that you might not is on a long cross country. You might not have that critical phase mindset, right?
Sure.
But definitely near an airport environment or a busy area like the practice area where we go and do all our air work. So
I always say, like, if someone really wanted a kind of a black and white answer, it's tough to ever have that. But like I always say, if you're on initial climb out or you're coming in on descent, right? Like anywhere but cruise, essentially, is what that's saying. Then that would be like your sterile cockpit, right?
Exactly.
Because those are really your critical times. The one thing that I'll say to any student that comes here, stop talking when the radio goes, right? So listen to what's going on. That's that situational awareness, right?
Yeah.
I always say, like, I kind of sound silly when I'm talking to my students, because I'll stop talking, listen for a second, and then I start talking and trying not to over talk or turn down the volume.
Right.
Sometimes, you got a couple old farm boys that are talking about their weekend plans on the radio, but that's so few and far between. But most of the time it does pertain to us. And we have two airports. Obviously Collingwood's a lot busier than Midland, but we have two airports on the same frequency that are within, 14 miles away or something like that. So they're super close, and you have traffic coming in from all different directions, landing and departing. And now Midland's getting like commercial aviation going in there. We've got lots of commercial
private charters.
We've got lots of traffic. So being aware of that is such a good mindset to come into. So I would just say, like, when you get into the airplane, whether you're in your first lesson or you're now getting ready to move on to your next chapter and flying commercially, is treat it like a job. Like, you're going in there to learn. It's a professional environment. Treat it that way, right? We can have lots of fun. We'll have a great time. There's times to joke around. There's times to, have those conversations. But it's very important to have your head on a swivel. If anyone played sports, have your head on a swivel, right? And just be aware. And so we can do that by looking out, and we can also do it by listening. And that's a huge one. So kind of circling back to what skills are really good for pilots coming into it is also listening skills, right?
Yes, for
Be able to listen to people and take in what they're saying and try to paint that picture in your head as to what's going on, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
That's good.
Anything you want to add?
I think that's it.
All right, very good. So if you have any questions you want us to bring up in the podcast, please go over to our Instagram page. I'm sure that'll be linked somewhere, and you can ask any question that you may have, and we'll bring it up at the end of the podcast. Thanks again, Tyler.
All right, thanks.
All right.